Well, into that, I guess, gap, and it was a significant gap, some people decided to do something, and the Free Speech Union was born, and we've had a number of their principles on it in the last wee while. And joining us now from the Speech Union to talk about something that he has just, in actual fact, posted on is Professor Roderick Mulgan, and he joins us now. Rod, good to have you on. Welcome to the show. Nice to talk to you again after such a long time.
I was just trying to think when I first met you, and I think it was probably 1986.
Yeah. You and I were in a New Zealand... We went in a New Zealand debating team to Australia at some stage.
I didn't go on the Australian League, but we were in national teams together in the 80s, weren't we?
Yes, I think we were. I seem to remember... Do you remember an English lecturer by the name of Virginia Goldblatt?
Oh, very well, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
well, there
yes.
you are, you see.
John Bishop.
John Bishop, that's right. Chris Bishop's dad.
Father of Chris, yes.
Yes.
Now, look, before we go any further, I have to mention you have flattered my academic credentials there. I'm not a professor.
Aren't you? Oh, you're a doctor.
I'm not.
What have you got? You've got a PhD in what, Rod?
I've got a medical doctor.
Oh, you're a medical doctor. Oh, my God, you're actually a real doctor.
I'm a real one.
You're not a made-up one. Oh, I didn't realise that. I didn't realise you'd gone to med school. Good on you. Well, how did you get to join the Free Speech Union then, if you don't mind me saying? Because it's not a natural route, I would have thought, for someone in the medical profession to end up in it.
Well, I've always felt passionately about the point that you can say stuff and be judged on its merits, and it's not the role of the state to say those points of view are acceptable. I've always sort of thought that that's an enlightenment value that drives things. I mean, the Free Speech Union was born when Auckland Council denied a venue to two controversial speakers, Lawrence Southern and Mr. Molyneux, and clearly their points of view were controversial, and I have no idea whether I'd agree with them or not, but it just struck a chord with me, and with many others, that it's not the role of the council to close all that down. So the Free Speech Union was born. I started donating to it. I got to meet the CEO, Jonathan Ayling, and one way or another I wound up on the board. And then one way or another I became the chair of said board.
So you're the chair now, Rod, is that right?
I'm the chair now. Yes. It was Jordan Williams of the Taxpayers Union. Basically, the Free Speech Union was sort of spun out of the Taxpayers Union. It was sort of their resources to start with till it got on its own feet as a independent entity, which it now is. And we go into bat for all sorts of things.
You do. And the thing I like about you is your consistency. In other words, you go into bat for people that are on the left and the right of the political spectrum.
Absolutely.
And so you should.
That's a key thing, that we have no idea whether people are talking sense or not. It's up to the people listening to them to sort that out, but it's not up to the state to sort that out.
Which is why also you've gone into bat for somebody that would be persona non grata to the mainstream media, and her name is Suzanne Smith. She is a nurse and a nurse educator from New Plymouth, and she would be one of the anti-mandators who seriously questioned the whole COVID response and the vaccine itself. Why have you gone into bat for her?
Well, she's an excellent example of what we're talking about, that if you take a mainstream perspective and a popular perspective, it's very easy to deride her and say, this is wrong, this is silly. But it absolutely isn't up to the state and organs of the state, like professional tribunals, to make those decisions for us. If people want to break ranks and say, I'm not on board with this mass vaccination stuff, then they can. And they can make their case like anyone else. And it absolutely isn't up to the system and the nursing council to tell them they can't do that, which is what's happening here.
The nursing
They've broken rank, yes.
Yeah, well, the Nursing Council is quite censorious. It is one of those organisations which has very much regarded, and I've interviewed them on the show, Rod, and one of the things that they've been very strong on is that they're great mandate believers, but what you're suggesting is they're also contravening the civil and civic rights of their members if they deny them an alternative viewpoint, yeah?
Absolutely, it's true, but they're also denying the rights of citizens who might wish to hear another point of view. The right to receive information is actually in the Bill of Rights. It's one of our foundation constitutional principles. And it's not qualified by saying you only have the right to hear information that other people think is good for you. That is the perspective of a dictatorship. It is not up to other people to decide what's good for us. It's there in the Bill of Rights, you can receive information. So if you are a citizen that is sceptical about the whole business, then you have the right to hear from other people who share that perspective. And it's this exchange of stuff, including fringe stuff, that advances society, because sometimes the fringe stuff turns out to have more substance than you might think. I mean, at the start of the pandemic, it was openly racist to say that this virus might have something to do with research into viruses based in China. But then people did say it, and we have things like Twitter that allow you to say stuff, and the evidence came along, and now it's a respectable view. It'll probably never be sorted out one way or the other, but it's far from fringe to say that's what might have happened here. And that is the point of fringe perspectives. They may turn out to be true if they're allowed to be vented. If people are allowed to discuss them and find evidence for them and share evidence for them, they may change the world.
No, point made. Now, just to everybody who's listening, Suzanne Smith is a nurse. She was on the anti-vaccination, anti-mandate thing. She's been brought to the Nursing Council. In fact, the Professional Conduct Committee are seeking to censure or prosecute her, apparently, for having these different views and promoting them. Your concern is not just that Nurse Smith isn't allowed to speak, but you've got another concern related to that, and that is the Professional Conduct Committee. Is that correct?
That's right. They have told her that she's not even allowed to speak publicly about the fact of being disciplined. Now, that's way outside any legal powers they have. That's way outside the normal way the rule of law works. We have asked them before going public, can you please point to the law that allows you to do this? We've had no reply. There is no law that allows them to do that. And again, that is overstepping the mark by a very considerable margin. And this sort of thing needs to be smacked down. You, the Nursing Council, cannot tell people that if they're being disciplined, they can't talk about it, they can't go to the media about it, they can't seek public support for their position. Of course they can.